Welcome in, you guys. Good morning. How are you? Let's see what's going on for Thursday. I hope everybody is doing great today. What wants to come through? What wants to come through? I feel like there is something to say this morning about taking charge of your life. If you're not living the way you want to live, I feel like it's time to sit down and have a conversation with yourself about that. New life, right at the bottom. Thank you. There's something about that. It doesn't mean, I feel like not everybody, I feel like there's plenty of people out there who think in order to change your life, you have to have like a ton of money to do that. And I'm just like, you really don't. You just need to understand where you want to go, align with it, and then take steps to get there. We talked about this yesterday in Pathfinders about manifesting and, definitely authentically manifesting, but also intentional manifesting, in that when you're wanting something, you don't do a thing that is not in the direction of the thing you want. So if you want to lose weight, you're not, going to be doing things that are going to keep you from doing that, right? Eating certain types of foods or being around certain kinds of people or doing certain things that have proven in your past to not support that direction. Do you want to have a love relationship? Okay, I got to take it really does start with kind of a self-assessment. And look at this karmic path. Like, how can you take responsibility for what's going on in your life? Because the thing is, like, I know a lot of y'all, and I'm included in this, have challenging people or situations, health situations, money situations, family situations, spouse situations, whatever it is. But I feel like it's that we're too loyal to the old person that we were and not loyal enough to the person we want to become. And, if you want to live a certain way and your spouse does not, then what? Is there compromise? Is there another option? Is there another way? I just feel like people think they don't have choices. And you do. You do have choices. But those choices do, now I'm talking really Saturn energy here because we have Saturn in this card. We're talking about Saturn in Aries right now, and Saturn is conjunct Neptune. It's also squaring Jupiter. Jupiter has just moved into Cancer, and Cancer is about home. Where do you want to make your home? And a lot of you may have to put in some work and effort to make that a reality. I want to, live in a different place. I want to live a different way. I want to, maybe grow my own food. I want to live in a different kind of community. I want to have a love relationship that is supportive of each other. All of those things are possible. You just have to say, okay, what's in my arena right now that is stopping me from doing that? Or it's not stopping you, you're stopping you. What is in your arena right now that says that's not going to get me where I want to go? And then take steps to move away from that person, let those people go, let that kind of situation go. If you live in the middle of a city and you want to live in the country, okay, what do I need to do that? That is actually what really got me out of a very dark, narcissistically abusive relationship. When I finally said to myself, this is not how I want to live. And I heard myself say that, and I heard myself also say, okay, then what do you want? And that's where the work began. And it took me 6 months to tunnel out of that. Right? Failing business, no money. Have to do it on my own. I've got animals. I've got like all of these things. And yet I did do that. And if I could do it it was a very dire situation. And then once I did get out of it, then there was family who was like, I told you so. Super unhelpful. Super unhelpful. Why would you ever go to them for advice again? Because their advice is about their ego. It's not really about helping. So thanks a lot. Bye. Your job is to surround yourself with people who are supportive and kind, and at the very least, get away from those who aren't. Transformation. Earth. You're singing my song. Shift. So that's how it happens. That's how it happens. Sometimes when you're in a dark place, I'm not suggesting that all of you are in a dark place, but I am feeling like some of you are going to have this Saturn and Neptune squaring Jupiter really impact you, especially if you have a lot of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, especially the early degrees. If you've got your sun at like 3 degrees of Capricorn, if you've got anything in Libra at the early degrees, definitely Aries and definitely Cancer. If you've got stuff early degrees, this is your reading, because this is basically saying to you, it's almost like taking you by the collar and saying, hey, if you're going to go in a direction, you need to get serious about it. You need to sit down and go, all right, however long it takes me, 6 months, a year, 2 months, 5 days, whatever it is, this is how I foresee it. We talked about this in Pathfinders yesterday. This is about the manifestation. And then manifestation comes with a packet of courage. Intuition comes with a packet of courage. I think that's what Carolyn Mace says. That's how you know the difference between intuition and something that's just magical thinking. So Neptune square Jupiter can be, Neptune in Aries can be the fanciful you. The sort of, I just have this big fantasy, but then it's squaring Jupiter in Cancer. Squares are about challenging situations. So it can be like, well, my home, Cancer energy, my home or my experience here isn't really lining up with where I want to go. And I'm just going to have magical thinking about that. But Saturn is there. Thank goodness. Saturn is there saying, all right, here are the steps. Take responsibility for where you are now. It's incredibly empowering to have radical acceptance of where you are right now. Incredibly empowering. Say, okay, it's like, there's no judgment here. I think a lot of times people run away from stuff because they're judging themselves and they're like, how did I get here? I'm so stupid. Like all of that stuff just really, that is not helpful. As not helpful as somebody in your family going, I told you so. Like that's super unhelpful. So don't do that to yourself, okay? Just be like, okay, here's where I am. That's where I want to go. Cool. Cool. All right, what do I need to do to get there? Well, if I want to live in the country and I want to get out of the city, first order of business is to find a way for me to do that. So I need to find a way to support myself, and I need to get moving on moving. Where? Where to? What does it look like? Like, this is a fun project. It can be really fun. I realize the situations that some of you find yourself in right now are very challenging. But if you are co-creating with the universe, having fun while co-creating is the ticket. That is the energy that you want, okay? Underneath is the Hermit. I see the 5 of Cups here. I see the 3 of Swords here. I see the 2 of Swords here. And I see the Empress here. So there's definitively something about nursing one's wounds, healing oneself, right? Maybe you're in a hermit phase and you're like, okay, that bad stuff happened and this sucks and this other thing happened. But then there's the time when you go, all right, I'm at a crossroads here. I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to take from that stuff, what did I learn from each of those things? I'm going to work through the emotions of it. I'm going to release it. I'm going to go, okay, it's time for me to embrace Venus. It is. It's time for you to embrace Venus and go in that direction. There it is. 8 of Cups, walking away from the old situation. Page of Cups, love it. Ace of Swords, oh yeah. Because there's a certain amount of honesty here when you actively take stock of what's going on around you and you say, this is unacceptable. So you can't, what can you control? You can only control you. You can't control somebody else returning your feelings, or somebody else doing anything for you, or being anywhere, or doing the thing you need him to do. You really, and this is, I mean, it's radical acceptance, and it's really relying on oneself. It's not really saying that everybody's against me and nobody's going to help me, because that isn't true. When you're aligned, this, I feel like this is like joyful Venus energy about like, I want this beautiful home, or I want this gorgeous, van that I'm going to live in. I'm going to go around the country. I'm going to do all this stuff, and I'm going to see new places. I'm going to take my little cat, my little dog, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. And I'm going to, have a thing online, and that's how I'm going to make money, and a YouTube channel, la, 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 right? Like, there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways to make money without handing over your entire life. Some of you have a lot of debt. Some of you have a lot of, school debt, or other kinds of debt, or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, okay, this is what it is. I'm not going to keep digging that hole. How do I get out of that? Talk to someone who can help you, who's not going to be an I told you so. And I've told you this many times about when I was digging out of my situation. I went to the wrong people for help at first, because they're supposed to love you. They were the wrong people. Because number one, they weren't interested really in helping me do what I wanted to do. They had a different vision. And it just wasn't for me. Didn't really like how it went down, but I'm more focused on the fact that, well, that's not for me. So who cares how it went down? I was like, nope, it's not for me. It's what I'm going to do. And it took me a few tries to get away from that helpful advice, and realize that it was really about them wanting what they wanted and not what I wanted. Okay? So once you get your truth about what it is that you want, then you can go to somebody or several people, or people who are going to be supportive. That's what you want to do. Okay? 8 of Cups, Daughter of Cups, or Page of Cups, the Ace of Swords. Look at this, the Ace of Cups. Lots of new energy coming in. Wow. Ace of Cups, 10 of Cups, the 8 of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles. Are you freaking kidding me? And the Hierophant. One thing I haven't talked about much, which I will do some videos on, it's happening in early July, is Uranus is at the very tail end of Taurus. We've had all of these big planets changing signs this year, and a little bit of last year. Pluto, right? Pluto moved into Aquarius. We've had Aries go into, or sorry, Saturn go into Aries. We've had Venus go into Aries. Venus keeps moving. We've had Mars changing a bunch of times. Mars is about to go into Virgo soon. Uranus is going to change from Taurus. It's been there for 7 or 8 years. Okay, so we're looking back at like 2017, somewhere in there, and 2017, 2018, and what happened back then when Uranus went into Taurus. Boom! Now Uranus is going to go into Gemini. Neptune went into Aries. All of these big outer planets changing, and it impacts us generationally, 100%, but it also does drive down to the individual point as well. I got 3 aces here. The one that's missing is the Ace of Wands. But I do have the Knight of Wands here, which is the inspiration, and this is moving. So this is like heading in the right direction, or heading toward Ace of Cups, 10 of Cups, Ace of Swords. Ace of Pentacles, the final card in this part of the reading, is the Hierophant. That's Taurus. So there's something here about lighting a fuse when you have radical acceptance about where you are and where you want, and then going and like no judgment. Here's where I am. No judgment. See if you can do that for yourself. And then say, all right, I have always wanted to go in this direction. I have always wanted to, be an astrologer. That's what I said. I've always wanted to be, helping people using tarot and astrology and all of that. And I was like, I have no idea what that's even going to look like. Until I did. What's the dream? What's the dream? Because Uranus leaving Taurus, I feel like if anything gets rocked, if any financial situation gets rocked, it's because there's air energy coming in. Uranus moving into an air sign. Uranus rules Aquarius. Uranus moving into Gemini. Kind of like each other. Uranus doesn't like Taurus very much because Taurus is kind of like, well, I don't want to make a lot of change because what happens if there's unforeseen this, or I'm not comfortable, or whatever. And with Uranus at that 29th degree at the end of June and moving into July 9th, it shifts into Gemini. And I just feel like there's this, right? We just had Jupiter moving to Cancer. That's exalted in Cancer. So there's just, Jupiter is also very optimistic. It's very approachable. It's very excited about the future. Jupiter loves to learn stuff, curiosity, all of that. And it's squaring Aries. And so there's some parts of you, your lifestyle that you've created up until now, your way of dressing, your way of presenting yourself in the world, whatever, that might need some renovation. It's like the you're becoming is very different than the you've been. So this is really total transformation. Total transformation. And from the ground up, this is earth and shift. I got to say this because earth and shift says earthquake to me. So, and I'm feeling that right now, that there's going to be some kind of like ground shaking, maybe literally some kind of ground shaking or earth shattering kind of shift within this month time. So it's only the 12th. We just had the full moon in Sagittarius. Optimism, shedding anything that's going to shut you down. All right, really shedding those things. 3 of Swords and 5 of Cups. You've been sad too long. You've been in this I'm not, capable, I'm not able place too long. You've been in this, I don't know what to do, how to fix this place too long. Okay? So it's time to go, all right, this is where I am. So Spirit, please help me to get where I want to go. Spirit goes, okay, where do you want to go? You're the one driving the train. Where do you want to go? Maybe that's the disconnect. Like, oh, I've got to say, well, I'm interested in going to this Austin, Texas. I'm interested in going to Belize. I'm interested in going to Paris. I'm interested in going to Vancouver. Like whatever it is, this Ace of Swords, this like clear level of insight. So after the 7 of Cups, the 4 of Wands. Look at that. 9 of Swords, Tower. So this is like, here's the idea. That's the celebration. That's like, oh, wow, I'm getting clarity. It's breaking through this confusion. Hey, that's what I want to do. And then immediately, I can't do it. I don't know. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I don't know. I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that. Like immediately. See how fast you shoot down yourself. What are the phrases? What are the sentences? What is the dialogue, monologue going on in your head? That's someone else's words. That's what you were taught. Immediately when you want to do something and then you get this, you were taught that. Okay, you were taught to be like, oh, if I leave now, then this is going to be a bad thing. If I leave now, then what? If I leave now, like, for example, okay, I'll give you an example of a friend of mine. This was a few years ago. Like, a teacher, and you have to get so many years in order to get your pension, or your to get your retirement, from that. Like, that's a real thing. And one of the things she was like, okay, well, I'm tired of doing the thing I'm doing. What are the options? Do I change schools? Well, maybe not. Do I, ask and see what's happening in the school system? Like, where could I be excited, or where could I be joyful, until my time is up? Like, what can you do? She could have just tossed it all on the fire and been like, I'm out. That's an option too. You're giving it the, like, ooh, that's a bad option. Ooh, that's a good option. That's your grading system, but it's kind of like, if you don't know where you're going, it's really hard to determine if that's good or bad, actually. And then there's Tower. I see Tower here. I see Ten of Wands. I see Six of Pentacles. There's definitely some people who can help you once you know what it is, once you get excited about it, once you kind of put some time and effort into it. Let's say you have a full-time job and you want to be a writer. Are you writing? No? Okay. Start writing. Start doing it. And I definitely have run into a lot of people, I think this was 3 years ago, where everything in this person's plan was hinged on other people. I can't be a writer if some big publishing house doesn't give me a huge advance. And I'm like, well, that's actually not how publishing works anymore. So, like, get the facts about what the situation is. Right now, you're way better off if you self-publish. Unless your name is Stephen King, unless you're very famous and have a big following already, they don't want to talk to you. They don't do the work of marketing. They just glue the pages together and give you editorial advice. And that's been a change. In my lifetime, it didn't used to be like that. It was sort of like, oh, I had a book published a long time ago about getting a job in television news, and I had to get an agent, and I did all this stuff and everything like that. And it was sort of like, meh, because I wasn't well known. Nobody knew who I was. It wasn't a thing. But now you have tools where you can put yourself out there. What's your topic? Do you need more schooling? Do you need more a certification? Maybe you need none of that. Maybe this is about your own life experience. Maybe this is about something that you want to create in your own life. And there was a guy in Sweden, I found his video fascinating, who worked at a shoe store in Copenhagen and wanted to live off the land. That's kind of far away from his dream, right? So he sat down with his wife and his child. Like, he had a little child. Well, the kid wasn't part of the conversation, but he had responsibilities. This is not like, oh, I'm just getting, I'm on my own. Even on your own, you have responsibilities. But he sat down with them and he said, okay, this is what I want to do. Are you on board with this? Is this something you want to do? Yes. This is something we've talked about for years. Yes. Something I want to do. Okay. How do we get there? And they actively spent 6 weeks or so figuring out the path where, okay, if this, then that, if this, then that. All right, we need to start saving. Maybe I need to get an extra job so I can put away some money. Sacrifices were made. Sacrifices were made by this man. And not only that, it wasn't just about living, he built that place. He bought a little cabin that was not worthy of a Swedish winter and created something that you could live in full time year round. With a child, he had land he bought the land, he had a little cabin on it. They spent 3 years. They spent 3 years, I think it was 3 years, doing from start to finish, from like dream to quitting the store. They would go out there. It was like 3 hour drive each way. They would go out every weekend. They would work on it. They would come home. They would work for the week. That's what they did. And now they live off the grid. He makes his videos. He goes to where the Wi-Fi is. He uploads the videos. He has a little a little YouTube following, makes money off of YouTube. That's how you do it. The shoe store was very supportive of him, the whole deal, because he was really in touch with where he wanted to go. And I feel like that's what this is. Where do you want to go? Everything is possible if you just take a minute to say, this is something that I feel is part of my direction in life. This is something I've always wanted to do. This is what I want. This is going to be joyful for me. This is going to be expansive for me. So what stops you if you're like, okay, I want to go out and live off the land, but oh God, if I quit this job, I won't be shoving money into my 401k, and that means I won't have retirement. And I'm kind of like, really? Is there such thing as retirement anymore? Because this is my retirement. Like, I retired, as far as I'm concerned, I retired 8 years ago. Because this is what I was going to do in my retirement. It just so happened it showed up early. So I'm talking about this Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, and Taurus energy with Uranus, and that tower showing up. Seriously, man. There's Five of Pentacles, King of Swords, the Moon, and the Queen of Cups. Is it possible that some of you it's not of your choice? And this is what happened to me. It wasn't of my choice or timing how things happened. Running out of money, completely burned out my old businesses, letting them fall into the ocean, fearful of bankruptcy, fearful of all of those things. And one day I just said, okay, if that's what's going to happen, then I'm going to get myself educated about this, and I'm going to figure out how do I clear what's in front of me so I can make a new start. And it didn't take me long because I went right at it. I talk about this a lot on this channel, going at the monster. Go at the thing that you think is going to be the scariest thing, the hardest thing, and get a handle on it. That is going to be so empowering. Get a handle on it. I'm in this abusive marriage. I need to get out. Okay. What do you do? I find a lawyer. I go talk to them. I get an understanding of my rights. I find some way to not be living in this. Or how do I get this person out of my house? Whatever it is, figure it out. Get curious about changing the situation. Because I feel like this full moon in Sagittarius, the strawberry moon, there's something very sweet about this full moon, that it's kind of like you're reflecting yourself back to yourself. And how do you see yourself? This third eye and this King of Swords, like very clearly. How do I see myself in the future? How can I use the energy of astrology? Because that's what I believe it's there for. To be like, it's not just like, oh, there's Uranus being a pain in the ass at the end of Taurus. No, it's like, wow, if this job suddenly goes away, awesome. Okay, then what do I do? All right, I got to handle all these things. All right, I got to figure this out. But this gives me an opening. A lot of times, and this happened to me twice, that I was clinging to something that was really not right for me. And that job kicked me out. I got other stuff to do, man. The universe knows it. So let's keep going. Let's see what happens with these aces. I want to know where the Ace of Wands is, because the Ace of Wands is like the spark, the idea. And right now we're kind of digging out of the old, but the spark is coming. All right, your spark is coming. So if this is your reading, there's a link below and I'll see you over there. Otherwise, Pathfinders, let's just keep going.